All right, hello. I am going to be making this video on how to examine and evaluate what's in your food diary. So I'm hoping that you will pick something from an average day in your life to give you an indication of your food intake. If you did not keep a food diary, you can do it for the last 24 hours, whatever it is. But you need to understand how to analyze the food you eat in order to create a healthful diet for yourself. Okay, so one of the things, the rule of thumb, 7 out of 10 bites that you eat should be high water content food. And high water content food is going to be like fresh food, apples, oranges, bananas, melon. Yeah, high water content food that are vegetables, lettuce, celery, um, carrots, all of those things. So, the way we analyze our diet, first of all, we start with looking at our calories. The calories is the amount of energy in your food. And how do you find out the calories? Well, you would have to look on the nutritional label. So, the nutritional label comes on any packaged food. Packaged food is something that I encourage you to stay away from, but it is very hard to do. And in our modern lives, we eat a lot of packaged food. So learning to read this nutrition label is very important. On here, it gives you the serving size and the number of servings per container. So if you walked into 7-Eleven after school when we actually go to school and you bought a bag of peanuts, you might take that bag of peanuts, eat the whole thing. And if you didn't look at the servings per container, you might not realize that there's 9 servings in that bag that you bought. Probably not in peanuts, but just for example. Okay, so if you eat one serving of something, then you are going to look for the nutritional information that's listed on the label, and that can help you determine where you are in your daily intake. Okay, so the macronutrients are the other things that you need to pay attention to. Those are going to be the carbohydrates, proteins, lipids. Okay, so you'll notice that right here it says proteins. And then you'll notice right here it says total carbohydrates. And carbohydrates is broken down into different areas here. Soluble fibers, sugars. Okay, so there's a total 22 grams in there. And then you'll also notice the fats. They give us monounsaturated, polyunsaturated, and saturated fats. All of those are important to take into consideration. So when we're looking at our calories, we relate them by percentages to carbohydrates, lipids, and proteins. So somewhere around 45 to 65% of your calories should be from carbohydrates, 20 to 35% should be from fats, and 10 to 35% should be from proteins. And I'm just going to go ahead and even that out to about 20. So I know that I like fattening foods and I know that I like carbohydrates. So I am going to go with this 45 here for low carbohydrates. And then I want to keep my lipids low. And then my proteins, well, that's mid-range. Now you'll notice this does not add up to 100%. And that is because this is a range. This is a range, right? From 45 to 65, from 20 to 35, from 10 to 35. So there is some variables in there, okay? So just realize that, yes, in fact, this does vary some. It's not like a measured millimeter, okay? All right, so when we're doing this, first of all, how many calories should you have in a day? I have a couple of different programs that I use to help me keep track of my calories and what it is that I consume. And MyFitnessPal is one. MyFitnessPal wants me to play Emoji Blitz now, and this is what happens when you get free apps, right? So here is my free app now taking me somewhere I totally don't want to go. So I'm going to go to my chronometer instead. And on my chronometer, I am going to see that my chronometer is telling me that I should eat about 2,000 calories a day. Okay, so that's there at the top in the middle of the screen. So of those 2,000 calories, my chronometer is telling me that 45% should come from carbohydrates. So now I would have to use my calculator and I would have to figure out, well, I can figure out, I don't have to figure out, of my 2,000 calorie diet, 800 calories should be from carbohydrates. Okay, so that's just a rough estimate, and it's again a percentage that we're working out there. So 800 calories is the estimate of how many calories should come from carbohydrates in my diet. Okay, and again, that app that I was just on a second ago will help calculate those things for me, as well as the lipids and the proteins. So you take your food diary. This food diary was submitted by a student, I don't know who, and they had a Nutella sandwich with banana and a cup of milk for breakfast. And when I look at my app here and I add food and I add to my Nutella sandwich with a banana, um, it then gives me the information for it. So you'll notice that there was a lot of carbs. You'll notice that there was a lot of energy. There was 8.8 grams of fat and 9 grams of protein. And again, those bars are they progress across the screen as you consume your food. Okay. In this app right here, I want you to notice this right now while I'm here. The highlighted targets down at the bottom, it shows me the targets for fiber, iron, calcium, some vitamins, and folate. As I scroll down, it gives me a much more detailed version of the minerals and vitamins that I need. And hopefully, you remember that those are called micronutrients. Okay, so the micronutrients are things that you need in small amounts, and they're very important. Think about the chemicals that we talked about in neurological function, the calcium and the potassium and the depolarization of neurons. So if you're missing some of those, like the potassium, I don't know if you've ever had muscle cramps and they tell you to eat a banana, but that's going to be because your neurons aren't firing properly without the potassium. So it is important to think about those things as well. Okay, so here is a log from the MyFitnessPal one. The MyFitnessPal app, they request or they say that you should be 18 years or older to use it. So the other one that I had, the Chronometer, I'll go back to that for a second. Look at the bottom of the screen and you'll see the apple with the target and the arrow. Okay, that's Chronometer, and that one was free. I did put in my age in accurately, suggesting that I was only 16 years old, and it allowed me to use the app without any sort of verification of my age. So that was, that's one that's available to you. And then if you look to the far right, you'll see the white person on the blue background with the Under Armour symbol. That is MyFitnessPal, and that is the one that is being seen here. Okay, so this person had an International Delight Coffee creamered coffee for breakfast, and that had 90 calories, 15 carbs, 5 grams of fat, and 15 grams of sugar. Okay, so for lunch, they then had a Starbucks white chocolate mocha instant latte packet and a Cheez-It snack package for a total of 37. Oh, I was saying 37 grams of sugar, but no, that's not. That's 37 grams of sugar. No, it is 37 grams of carbs. Okay. And then for dinner, they had McDonald's, a cheese pie, a guava and cheese pie. Then there was some chicken soup, some tortillas, some cheese. So that was a decent looking dinner, if you ask me. And then there at the bottom, it shows the daily goals. It shows that you didn't eat all of your calories, that you still had some carbs left. You ate too much fat. You did get enough protein, or you were close to getting enough protein. Your sodium was good as well as your sugars. So, although it looks like having a white chocolate instant mocha as well as having International Delight coffee creamer in a day, seems like a lot to me, but according to this analysis, it's not. So I would like you guys to pick one day of food. I want you to break it down for me. If you do a screenshot like what's on the screen right now, that would be fine with me. If you do it on paper, that's fine with me as well. I just need you to take a picture if you do it on paper and submit it for your assignment. And if it's a screenshot and you submit that for your assignment, that's fine as well. But I want to know that you are able to analyze your food. You can find me on office hours at Google Hangouts to ask questions if you need to. So please look for me there. And I hope everyone's well.